Okay, so I'll tell you some history of González Byass and how the company began, and then we'll see the production process as we go through the cellars. Okay. González Byass is a family company. It was started in 1835 by Manuel Maria González. He was only 23 at the time. He was from Jerez. He didn't have a lot of wine knowledge, but he worked in a bank in Cádiz. So he was based in the port, and he used to see the ships coming in and out of the port. So he decided that he wanted, being a businessman, to have some of this export opportunity. So he joined forces with his uncle, who was a great wine lover, and they started up the winery. Now his focus from the very beginning was export. It's where he thought the growth was. So only 20 years later, he made our distributor in the UK a partner in the company. Okay, the UK has always been #1 for sherry, even today is our #1 market. So he wanted to have really good links with the UK market. Okay, so it was the González family from Jerez and the Byass family from London. Now they were part of the company until relatively recently, till 1988, when the González family bought them out. Okay, so nowadays the González family have 97% of the shares, and the other 3% are with their distributors in Switzerland and Japan. Okay, they have been with us for many years and have some small shares in the company. It's still very much in the hands of the González family. They're now in their 5th generation. The chairman is a González, the vice chairman, my boss is a González, her brother works in the company. They're still very hands-on day-to-day running of the company. Okay? And this part of the cellar is called La Concha, due to the shape of the cellar, because it looks like a shell, which is concha in Spanish. It was built in 1862, when Queen Isabel II of Spain came to visit the winery. So being the Queen of Spain, they wanted to do something special, so they built this winery for her. It's said to be designed by Eiffel, of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. And here we have 214 casks. They're filled with La Concha Amontillado, which is a slightly sweet Amontillado, which we basically just sell to the UK market. So you can smell the wine. Okay, so it's very small production. We have a small solera where they're under the floor in another part of the cellar, and this is where they're oxidized, so very, very small production. On the cask we have 115 flags, which represent the countries we were present or we have been present in the past. Okay, for example, we have some strange places like Antarctica and the Vatican and places like this. But we're actively working, as in we have orders, events, importers, etc., in 104 countries throughout the world. Okay, so we're in the majority of the markets, obviously mainly with Tío Pepe being our #1 brand, but now we're trying to get into we're actually trying to open up offices throughout the whole world to have better communication with the importer, with the end consumer, etc. Okay, so we have our own distribution in the UK, own distribution in Mexico, own distribution in the US, we have an office in Germany, which you know, and we have colleagues in Brazil as well. Okay, so we're opening up kind of around the whole world. Okay. As I said, this is where it all began back in 1835. In the 1980s, the family wanted to expand into other wine regions. At that time, the most famous were Cava and Rioja. So we bought cellars in both Cava and Rioja. Since then, we've either built from scratch or we've bought over other cellars. And we now have 8 wineries throughout the whole of Spain. And we have our first sale, if you like, in Chile. We've just bought from Chile. Okay, so we are Bodegas Tío Pepe, it's what everybody knows us for. But we also have a full portfolio, if you like, of all different types of Spanish wines. Okay. Okay, so this is a small museum dedicated to the harvest time. So we have different machines used throughout harvest. Obviously the original lagar, when they used to press using their feet. In the 1970s, we decided to centralise the vinification. So previously we had vinification plants in every vineyard, but obviously all the musts we were getting in were slightly different. So in the 1970s, we built another cellar called Las Copas, which is 5 minutes down the hill. And this is where we have all of our vinification now. Okay, it's a more industrial plant. It's where we have reception of the grape, pressing of the grape, fermentation tank, aging and bottling. Okay. So if all the grapes from the vineyard go to Las Copas, and in Las Copas we have 2 lines of vinification. We have pneumatic presses and we have continuous press. Okay, so from the pneumatic press, we get up to 60% of what we call the first yema, so the best must, that either free run must or really lightly pressed. And this is all used for Tío Pepe. Okay. The next 10% that we get from pneumatic press, we would use for things like our dry oloroso, Alfonso. And the next 30% we sell for distillation. You know, in Jerez we can only use up to 70% of the press for sherry wines. Okay, the rest can be used for white table wine, or we can sell for distillation. Okay, we don't make white wine here, so we just sell. In our continuous press, this is where we get the must that's going to be used for things like croft or pale cream, and our blends, our mediums and our creams. Okay, so depending on what type of wine we're going to be making, whether it be fino or the blends, the creams, etc., we're going to use one type of press or the other. Because obviously in the case of the fino, we're looking for the finest, most elegant, most delicate must possible, whereas in the case of the creams and the mediums, you want some more of that structure coming through from the extract of the skins, no? Something more character, more structure, more body. Okay. This is a map which shows the DO of Jerez. So as you know, it's called the Triangle of Jerez because it's basically three main cities: Jerez de la Frontera, El Puerto de Santa Maria, and San Luque de Barrameda. Okay, so you can see it forms this triangle shape. To be a sherry wine, it has to be from this region. Apparently when the Moors lived here, the Arabic name for the city was Sherish, and that's where the English word sherries came from. Okay, so sherry is the city, it is Jerez, and it demonstrates that it has to be made here. Okay. The dark green part in the map is where we have our vineyards. They're all found in Jerez Superior, which as you know is the best area to have your vineyards. It's slightly higher, it's about 70 metres above sea level, and it has the all-important Albariza soil, which we'll see just in a minute. Okay. In our vineyards we have Palomino and Pedro Jimenez. Here in González Byass we don't use Moscatel, okay? We just use the Pedro Jimenez variety. We think it was a personal decision of the founder to focus on one variety for sweet wines as opposed to having two. Also, we have carried out many experiments during the years, and have found that when you're making your blends, your mediums, your creams, etc., we prefer to use the Pedro Jimenez because the Moscatel is such an aromatic variety. We think it overpowers the Palomino, and we want the Palomino to always be the dominant force, even in the blends. Okay? So our vineyards are about 96% Palomino, and we have a very small percentage of Pedro Jimenez, only 24 hectares. We're one of the only wineries in Jerez to have Pedro Jimenez planted here. So you know the Consejo allow you to buy your Pedro Jimenez from Córdoba, from Montilla, and you can bring to Jerez and make a sherry PX, which is what we do and what most companies do. But about 15 years ago, we decided to plant some PX here in Jerez. For us, it's obviously better to have control from the beginning right through to the end, and also was an experiment to see how the grape would adapt to the temperature that we have here in Jerez. Okay, so as I said, it's a very small amount, it's only 24 hectares. At the moment, we have no finished wine, but we have the must in Solera, and it's proving to be very good quality. Okay, the difference being that the soleo process, so you know that the Pedro Jimenez is a white variety that we sun dry using the soleo process. So we pick it in the vineyard, we lay it out in the sparto mats, and we let it dry in the sun. So it basically turns into a raisin. This process in Córdoba takes about 7 to 10 days, and here can take up to 2 weeks. Okay, so slightly longer because we're not as hot as in Córdoba. And here we also have the problem of the humidity. Okay, you can see we're very close to the Atlantic Ocean, which for the Palomino variety is very helpful because it keeps it cool in the vineyard. But obviously when we're trying to dry the PX, we don't need the humidity. So we have to build little arches over the grapes. We cover them with plastic sheets. And then in the morning, when the sun has come up and the dew is away, we can take the sheets off and allow the grape to continue to dry. Okay. So it's a more lengthy process, but it's something that we're looking to expand in the future to have all of our PX planted here in Jerez, because PX for us is a very small percentage. We're a fino house, we're Tío Pepe, we're Amontillado. Okay, so PX for us is very, very small amount. Okay, so we're just going to go down and see our small vineyard that we have on site.